Hey guys, I just wanted to say we're really excited about our guest speaker today. We have Johnny Mo, the infamous or famous Johnny Mo. I don't know which one, but I met Johnny through Lab Code Agents, a great group, and I've also met him in person in Chicago at NAR. But he is a master at calls for real estate agents, and so he's going to go over some FSBO calls, expired calls, circle prospecting, and some mindset. And we just wanted to pick his brain on some things. So Johnny, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry.
Sure, man. So before I got into real estate, I was a network engineer, went to school, certified for that, spent time in that whole wonderful dot-com world. And in 2000, the dot-com world was starting to blow up and fizzle, and people are starting to jump ship. And I knew, in 2001, I was told, hey, listen, you're not going to have a job in a year, but we want to pay you extra to stay on. We need to shut down all these companies. I worked for an internet incubator. So during that time, I had a lot of free time to study. I studied. I always wanted to get into real estate, took my test back in the day when you went into a gymnasium, filled in the circles, and they told you, 14 days later whether you passed or you failed. And I got in April of 2002 and never looked back. When I got into the industry, I was able to take my knowledge of the internet with me. And, I find that the real estate industry and agents in general, usually 4 or 5 years behind in technology. And I was able to come in and just slaughter it. That's really how I got my growth.
Awesome. Now you're a trainer as well. So you train a lot of agents, don't you?
I do. I train and coach a lot of agents. In I guess 2011, I had left the big bad balloon and I went over to the Kool-Aid just because I had to try it. And, I loved it. I fell in love. Part of being on the ALC was I had to train. So I was training over there probably 2012. And that's where the software More GCI was kind of developed, because I was training the business planning clinic. And there was no real good tool to track what the agents were supposed to do all year long. So I drafted it out, put a team together, and basically started to train from those principles. And from those principles, developed the lead generation quadrant, which is calls and a call strategy, a networking strategy, an online strategy, and a general marketing strategy.
So that's great. So we're going to talk about the call strategy today, but tell us a little bit more about More GCI. Tell us what it does in a quick overview.
Sure. Basically, More GCI is a platform, business planning and tracking platform for agents that tells them what they need to be doing. So you want to make $250,000 in gross commission income. Your average sale price is $250,000. It tells you how many contacts you need to make, how many appointments you need to make. So basically, takes the complete unknown and turns it into actionable steps.
Cool. That's some great software. So let's just jump into it. The big thing for realtors are, Johnny, are the FSBOs, expireds, and circle prospecting. I mean, a lot of people do other marketing methods, but the calls are still probably the quickest way to get revenue and to build those relationships and things. So let's just talk about the FSBO calls right now. So, for agents starting out, those for sale by owners, I guess everybody knows. And so the FSBOs, Johnny, tell me how you work FSBOs and tell me how you train your agents to work FSBOs.
Sure, but FSBOs get bombarded, right? So you got to come in and be a little bit different. And when I get them on the phone or whatnot, and also not only is it the calling, I also send them a pre-listing package that I have created, and I FedEx it to them because, well, if you send it in the mail, it's mail. It's probably a bill. If you send it FedEx, then right, it's important. So I call them up and I basically just try to break the ice with them first. And, I'm real. I'm a bullet point kind of person, high D, personality. And I'll just be like, hey, Gary, it's John with EXP. And, man, I don't want to alarm you, man. I know you've been hit by 100 phone calls, 100 agents all claiming to be the best. And I'm not calling you for that. I'm just calling to ask you, are you looking to sell your home? Of course they are, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, they are. And then the next thing I want to know is, all right, cool. If you're able to sell your home, where are you going? Are you relocating? You downsizing, upsizing? What's the deal? Right?
So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. And then the next thing I want to know is, are you offering an agent any kind of compensation for bringing the buyer? Because if they are, all right, we're already halfway over the hurdle.
Right. So you just want to know that if they're offering any compensation, because most FSBOs want to try to sell it on their own, and so if they are interested or if they are compensating an agent, where do you go from there?
Basically, I just ask them to say, all right, so you're already offering an agent. You know, one thing I never do is I never say that I have a buyer and I want to come check out your house. That's just a blatant lie, unless you have a buyer. And
Right.
I don't believe in, you know, leading them down that path. I just say to them, so listen, so what's your hold up with hiring a listing agent? Because if I could show you a way to get the same amount of money, if not more money, and it doesn't cost you anything, and I can get that home sold quickly, isn't that a benefit to you?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and basically one of my closing questions is, you know, as we have that conversation, again, it comes with just having a real conversation with the person. I'll just say to them, listen, why don't we get together? We'll lay everything out and we'll run it side by side. If it makes sense, it makes sense. It doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not even going to bring contracts or any kind of paperwork like that with me, so we can diffuse that right now. I do everything in my computer, and I'm going to have my computer, so I really do have access to them. But, you know, you last thing you want to do is get into the home on false pretenses and then try to backtrack, because I think that's bad for your karma.
Right. So yeah, I mean, they can sense that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They can smell fear. They can smell lies. They can smell manipulation. Yeah. So basically, I just tell them, hey, listen, you're already offering. Let's just play with some numbers, right? And this isn't any kind of anti-Sherman stuff. Easy math. House they got it listed for 100,000. They're offering 3%. That's $3,000. Well, what you're already halfway there. If I could show you how to maybe get more for your property through our marketing processes and get compensated at the same time, get your home sold quickly, isn't that a benefit? And sometimes when you're having these conversations, you might realize, oh, snap, this guy, he's tilted in his home, so he needs to do a short sale, or, oh, he's 2 or 3 months behind and he's going into foreclosure. So by having real conversation, it opens up the real motivations.
Cool. That's great stuff. Tell me about how you make yourself, because FSBOs are highly competitive. You're probably the 158th call they got. Mm-hmm. How do you make yourself stand out from that competition?
Yeah, man. You know what? It all depends on what's going on in the world, and I make them laugh, or something like we had this wicked cold snap going on in the beginning of our winter here, and I would call people up and I'd be like, hey, this is John from eXp Real Estate, and you know, I'm just giving you a call to let you know that it's cold outside today.
Wait. You're calling them up and just say it's cold outside. That's it? You made me laugh right there.
Well, that's the point, right? Or when the election was going on, I would call and I would say, hey, listen, I'm not calling on behalf of Hillary or Trump. You know, I just wanted to let you know that this is a different phone call. Do you have a second to talk?
That's awesome. So you come right out there and try to make them laugh right off the bat. Is that right?
Humor is the best medicine, man. You know, best icebreaker too. If you can make somebody laugh, man, they're your buddy, you know?
So you use probably a current event and a current event of what's going on and just use that to break the ice right then. And if you break the ice and get them to laugh, that builds rapport, right?
It does. Yeah, they start to laugh, and it kind of, what it does is kind of brings the guard down just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. That's some awesome stuff. So tell me about how the frequency of FSBOs and expireds. So how often would you call these people? I'm sorry, not for expireds, but for FSBOs. How often would you call those people as far as, you know, the frequency?
Sure. So, you know, depends. If I haven't made contact with them, we're calling every week, right? If we did make contact with them, depending on how our conversation go, I'm going to move them over into some calendar reminder or the CRM to say, call, you know, Gary Prado in 2 weeks, see if he sold his house. I'm going to put some notes in there, right? And more GCI can do this, or your CRM can do that, or Salesdialers can do that, right? Whatever, which way you do it. For me, I like to extract information. Once I get to a point and I start making contact, I like to keep a separation. So I like to put a barrier up to say, haven't met, right? So then I call them back and I just say, hey, it's Johnny Mo. Just told you I'd call you back in 2 weeks. Sorry that it's, you know, the 15th day. You know, shame on me. You can smack me in my teeth when I see you. But I just wanted to check. You sell your house yet?
I see.
And in this time, I've already sent them the pre-listing package. Might have depended on the property. I might have sent them some send-out cards and brownies too.
Cool. So you sent them some goodies as well to kind of soften them, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder how
they,
many other agents do that, Johnny.
I don't think a lot. I think a lot of people are just out there, bang, 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 looking for the one to, shaking a tree, waiting for that one apple to fall. Where I'm going to tell you what, the money's in the follow-up, right? And if we do just a little bit in every person that's involved in technology about follow-up or automated systems will tell you, you're going to contact these people sometimes 13, 14 times. That's where the magic starts to happen. So if you think you're just going to sit on the phone today, make 50 phone calls, get a listing, you're wrong, right? Cold calling, you got to, the statistic is roughly like a ratio of 90 to 1, right? If you're really good, you might get it to 50 to 1 or 60 to 1, but you got to make a lot of calls to get to that appointment.
So I know the answer to this question, and I know you do, but everybody wants to know this. We know that it takes probably on average 8 to 12 points of contact before you get a sale. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100% correct, yeah.
And so give us an example of your history selling real estate. What is the craziest, how many points of contact have you, if you can remember a situation where you've sent phone call, text, whatever it is, how many points of contact in a sales process have you seen? Have you seen some crazy ones like 30 points of contact or 40? What in your history, what have you seen some ones that are really, that can give some people some insight to show them that the fortune is in the follow-up? Give us an example.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have people in our database that are in there from 2015, right? So we've been following up with them for 3 years. And, in that particular database, we call every other month. So there's 6 per year times the past 3 years, right? Constantly following up. One person that I recently listed, I don't list a lot. I parlay it out now and just oversee it. Man, I called probably 2 years ago and nothing. Then I saw that he listed with another agent. And so he went from just being a FSBO, to an expired because the other agent didn't sell the property. And I followed up with him after it expired, left him a message, sent him a note, and then he called me up. He said, you know what? I really need you. I screwed up the first time. I should have went with you. You're so aggressive. You just tell me how it is. Should have went with you. And I think I probably followed up with that guy probably 18 times.
So that's a great point. So he said, I should have gone with you because you're aggressive. So do you think, in your opinion, that if you show aggressiveness by calling, texting, send some items like the brownies you talked about and things like that, do you think that shows or proves to that FSBO that you are aggressive and that you are the one to go with? It makes you stand up because you're hammering, and they might respect that. Do you think you've ever gotten that situation? Somebody's ever said that?
Oh, for sure. You know what I mean? I've had multiple people tell me, I appreciate your follow-up. I appreciate your tenacity, right? It proves to me that you have a good system, that you're not forgetting about us. Where money agents, really, the sad statistic is they call 2 to 3 times, then they're done.
Right.
So here I am calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times over and over. Some people will tell me, we're definitely not selling this year. Call me next year. I call them. I like to call them all in January, February. It's me again. I'm just giving you an annual phone call. And they're like, okay, yeah, well, call me back in April. Okay, now, they're moving through the nurture process at this point. So, I think, but you have to do it. You can't do it and be a pest, right? You can't just, here's the problem. Agents are either scared or lazy, so they want to text, which works, don't get me wrong, or they want to email, but you got to pick up the phone and make that connection too. They're missing that point because a lot of people have call reluctance. They're afraid of the phone. They don't like it. They don't think they have time to do it. Where if you picked up the phone and As soon as you connect with somebody on the phone and you have a good rapport with them, especially like past clients are great, but if you built that rapport with for sale by owner, as soon as they hear your voice and stuff, it reactivates those reticulators and you get right back to that happy spot in a way.
I see. So what I would think if I'm a FSBO and I have somebody calling, texting, send me stuff, I would say that this person, because they're so aggressive at trying to get that listing, they have that same tenacity at selling that listing for me, right?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about the call reluctance, Johnny. You touched on that a second ago. How can a new agent starting out with that call reluctance, what can they do? Any tips or anything like that?
Yep. Biggest tip I tell people, it's all mindset, man. And what I tell them is get over that fear as fast as possible, right? Fear is not a spirit that has been given to you. It's a spirit that you have accepted. Okay. So you got to get rid of that spirit of fear. And the moment that you realize that that person on the other line doesn't even know who the hell you are, and if you saw them in the grocery store, they wouldn't know who you were. Who cares if you screw up? It's practice, right? It's okay to screw up. Think about professional sports too. How many times have you seen even the wonderful, my beloved New England Patriots, which everybody else seems to hate? How many times have you seen the offensive line screw up, or Tom Brady screw up, or the receivers screw up, and they're doing it on a national stage after they've practiced thousands of times? It's okay to screw up. Get okay. Start to accept that it's okay to screw up.
And agents are so concerned about the way they look, or if they're going to screw up, they're concerned about how they're going to be perceived, aren't they? I mean,
I believe.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to. It's not personal. They don't know anything about you. It's just business, right?
It's all business, and you got to remove. And sometimes we get twisted up working with, when we're working with buyers, there's a lot of emotion involved because it's their first home or it's a move up home, blended family, and oh my God, it's an emotional purchase. When you're working with sellers, it's business, man. It comes down to numbers most of the time. Like and trust, of course, are important, but it's a business arrangement at that point, right? So when you make that mental connection in your brain that, hey, this is business and I'm all business, and if I screw up, it's okay. I'm expected to screw up. I just don't want to screw up every day.
So tell us about that trust. How do you build trust with a client? Any tips?
Yeah, how do you build trust with a client, man? I think the majority of agents talk themselves out of business because they're nervous, right? So how do you build that trust? Shut up, listen. Don't just listen and hear, and understand the difference between listening and hearing, right? Hearing is physical, listening is psychological, right? So when you start to slow down, shut up, listen to them, listen to what their concerns are, and repeat back to them salesmanship, which we don't teach anymore in real estate. Some salesmanship, repeat back to them what their issue is, concern is. That way you can validate it and they know that you're listening. And show, really for me, I always say, if you go in there and be the best at 3 key points, be the best at those 3 key points. Go in there and hit on those things. And the only way that you can do that is through the discovery conversations with the people. And everybody within the conversation, see how I'm talking right now? I'm not talking fast. That's not an accident. I had to work on that, right? Slow down, listen, and hit the key points. And when you're going through the exploratory phase with them, you want to know what their motivations are. Are they moving to get closer to the grandkids? Are they downsizing? Are they sick of the winters? Do they need to be on one level? Are they getting a divorce? All these different things, because you're going to use that later, right? Where are they going? What are they, what's their time frames, right? And when you're able to then come forward and talk about, say, well, I understand that you want to sell your house, in a timely manner and get with the grandkids. Let me tell you about our digital marketing process. Let me tell you about, our history. Let me tell you about how we get more people to open houses than anybody. Let me tell you about the technology that we use. There's not much more. So you come in at it from a level of knowledge and a level of confidence, because they're going to smell fear. They're going, if you're scared and you're desperate and you got to sell, you ever notice that when you're broke and you need to make money, it's so hard to make money. But when you're flush with cash, it just seems to keep raining on you. It's because they're not, you don't want them to smell that fear, right? So have some positive affirmations before you get on the phone. Have some positive affirmations before you go to the appointment and get that negative stuff out of you.
That's awesome advice. Let's move on to expireds.
So my personal favorite, but
really, well, tell us why.
Made almost $100,000 off of them last year.
Okay, so
expireds have already proven that they're willing to sell, right? And why didn't it sell? Sometimes it might be market conditions and market timing, right? And January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, I call that the expired buffet. You're not going to see me doing much except for making expired calls around those times of years, because a lot of agents put December 31st and there is the expiration day. And guess who's calling on January 2nd? This guy, right? I'm going to call them all. And if it's something I really like, I'm going to send them something in the mail, a letter, a car. I mean, they're going to get a ton of stuff in the mail, but when they get a FedEx package, I'm going to stand out from all the other agents that are just sending their canned letter. And I'm going to send them out.
Show it to us. I want to see it.
I'm going to send them out my listing handbook, right? With a professional cover, with everything that I do in digital marketing and professional photography and staging tips and all the state documents and everything else like that. Who else is doing it? Right. And when I talk to the expireds, I have a very unique line. I'm going to share it with you guys. I'm going to share it with you because I like you.
Awesome. I love you too, brother. Come on, share it with us.
Let's role play for a second.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
So, Gary, notice that your house didn't sell. Are you looking to sell that house? Are you still looking to sell that house this year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still trying to, but I'm, just worried about it being able to sell for what I need it to sell for.
I got you. So are you interviewing new agents this year, or are you going to use the same agent that didn't sell it?
Well, that's a good point. But, the agent that I used before, he didn't sell it and I wasn't too happy about it. I don't know what he did or didn't do. So I'm a little gun shy right now.
I got you. Is there anything that he did that you liked?
Well, he talked a good game, but he just didn't sell. I don't think the communication was there during the whole process. And I just wasn't too comfortable. I mean, he talked a good game, but I don't think he followed up with anything.
I got you. And I hear that a lot, Gary. I've been doing this for over 16 years and, Hall of Fame with one company, got all sorts of awards with another company because, man, I do it. I do it on a high level. And one thing that I specialize in is selling homes that other agents didn't sell. And what I'd like to do is get together with you for 15, 20 minutes to show you what I do. I'll put a book in the mail so you already have some of it. Get together, show you what I do. And, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you're going to have a different perspective. How does that sound?
That sounds okay. I mean, what am I going to be in the same boat down the road? I mean, I just don't want to jump into something that the other agent as well. I mean, he talked a good game, but I just don't want to be in that same boat after we meet.
I'll bring
What's going to make you different?
I'll bring my portfolio and testimonials with you so you can see my track record and what others are saying about me, and then you can make a decision from there. I'll show you all the digital marketing. I specialize in digital marketing. I have a team that does it, digital and social marketing. I'll show you the stuff that we do. I'll open up my computer, show you everything, statistics. And like I said, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay. Well, that's a lot more than the other guy did. Sure. Let's go ahead and shoot for that time.
All right. See, a couple of things that I did there was I didn't want to hear all the things the person did wrong. I wanted to hear the things that the agent did right? Because that's a positive. And let's not talk about negative because we don't want to talk about negative. Negativity stinks. But I also put in there a couple key words that I think agents should start to change. Nobody wants to list their house. They want to sell their house. So a lot of agents will say, are you looking to list your house? Well, nobody wants to list it. They want to sell it. So you're still looking to sell your house, right? So I think that's a key word. And I also think, well, you got interviewing new agents, or you're going to use the same agent that didn't sell it before, I think is key, because some people don't realize that they actually have a choice or don't want to go through that process again and just like, oh, we're going to give it to the same agent before. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they listed, like in my area, you list in October, you might not sell, right? Maybe some of the feedback is the bedrooms are too small and they're going to knock a wall down because they put up an extra wall, and they'll say, well, we're going to be using the same agent because it wasn't fair. All the feedback was this. We had 30 people through the property. She did her job. The problem was something with the house, so we're going to resolve the problem with the house and give her another shot. Yeah, you're not going to argue. You're not going to win the argument. So you just say, yeah, that's fair. You know what? I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll follow up with you. You know, I do always throw in there, what if I could give you a special discount? You know, but usually 10 out of 10 times I haven't been successful when they're going to use the same agent because of an issue with the house that the home seller is remedying.
So what happens if somebody does say, hey, will you give me a discount? How do you handle that objection?
Well, I'll be more than happy to discuss that with you. Are you available today at 5, or are you available tomorrow at 2?
I see. Okay, so try to book that appointment right then.
Yeah, I will not have that conversation on the phone.
Right.
I mean, if it comes down to it, and somebody says, well, what's your listing fee? And again, this isn't, I'm going to say, oh, 3 apples. Right? Do whatever you do there. My listing fee? Oh, 3 apples. Oh, so only 3. Yeah. So, yeah, well, you know, and then we just decide what we pay the buyer's agent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's my fee. You know what I mean? You ask me, what do I get? That's what I get. We got to decide what we got to pay the buyer agent.
Right.
But I try not to have if you have a commission call on the phone, it often doesn't end well. It always ends up you're discounting your services before they even know what you do.
Right. So how often do you call the expireds? Let's talk about frequency for those.
Every day until they answer.
And you call them until when? I already know the answer to this.
They either buy or they die, right? Consistency is so important. And, you know, calling them, if you're able to send them something in the mail, you know, send them. You can send out the same thing in the, you know, the same day. You can send out a postcard. I'm looking over here to see if I have any kicking around. I sent them a postcard, right? Sold, didn't sell. That goes out in a colorful envelope, like a pastel envelope. This looks like a birthday card, right?
It does.
I'm sending it handwritten. Having a 17-year-old is wonderful because they're the best employees. So I leave them out with the printouts and say, here, I need these sent out. So they open it up. That's all that's in here and what I do on the backside. And then at the same time I'm sending that stuff out, I am sending, I think they're in here, a nice printed out color letter on heavy paper, right? Time to sell. So if they, you know, because every other agent out there that I've ever known is going to send things as inexpensively as they can, and that's going to be in, you know, the white envelope and everything else like that. I'm gonna spend like 3 cents more and get the colored ones, and they stand out in the mail. So there's a whole stack. Oh, what's this? Right? It looks fun. So they're going to get 2 things in the mail. They're going to get a phone call. And if I really, really like the property and it's, you know, I call it my wheelhouse, man, I'll sell anywhere. But if it's in the 3 or 4 towns that I really want and the price point that I really want, then I'm going to FedEx them a book. So within the course of, you know, 5 days, they've gotten the postcard, they've gotten the letter, they've gotten the book, and they've gotten phone calls from me over and over.
Right.
Or someone on the team.
Right. So, I mean, that's awesome. You know, when we sold our house 3 years ago, I got a white envelope. It was kind of even crinkled up. It looked terrible, but it was handwritten. Somebody wrote it, and then it was typed on a computer. I mean, we got a couple of those letters, but it didn't make me want to do business with the person. I mean, it really didn't. They didn't stand out. It looked like they were just trying to get by cheap. And if you look like you're trying to get by on the cheap, what does that tell your prospects? That you're not making any money and you're not good at what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
I think you know, that initial perception is important, and you know, you gotta spend a little money to have that perception. You know what I mean? Even you know, dressing professionally, going into a place, you don't go rolling in and, you know, flip flops and jeans. You know what I mean? It depends. Not in my area, not in the price point that I work. You know, you got to at least wear a button-down shirt, right, and some nice slacks. But if you're sending cheap material out, then yeah, you're going to look cheap. And who even having cheap websites and you know that just look crappy that you didn't put any energy or effort into, but you're going to sell my house,
Right.
you know?
Right.
You have a website from 1986.
Right. Yeah. So true, man. All right. So let's move on. We've been here about 30 minutes. Let's cover some circle prospecting. So let's talk about that. You know, Greg McDaniel. You know, Greg McDaniel.
Yeah.
That's all he does, man. I mean, I've seen him. I watch him do circle prospecting in the evenings. He goes live. Circle prospecting is a powerful tool, isn't it?
It is. Matter of fact, I just met with my two new team members that I brought over, and you know they're struggling. I said, "Listen, man, I want you to start looking at what's listed and sold, and I want you to start calling the neighborhoods." And you know, this was taught to me my first or second year in the business. I was at a Remax. My broker, or the broker was the son, the father was the agent. I mean, he was like top 10 in the state. He was just killing it. But I started to notice that every time I listed a property, he listed one around the corner. Right? Then my buddy Lou listed a property. It was one on the same street. Then my buddy Greg was just like, wait a minute, what's this guy doing? So what we noticed was he was, you know, circle prospecting. And the methodology behind circle prospecting is the 10-10-20 rule, which for those of you who don't know, when a property is listed, 10 on either direction on the same side of the street, or 20 on the opposite side of the street, also going to sell within a year. So by looking at the activity and if you don't believe me, go to Zillow, type in, you know, a city and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. You'll see all these red dots on the same streets, right, in the same neighborhoods. So if you get into a habit to say, you know, everywhere is different. New England, you know, where we are, there might be 10 streets and only 18 houses because they all do this crazy stuff. Other places you go, they might be gridded out. So, you know, you got to figure out what works for your area. But when you call those people, you know, this is what I say when I call them. And I started to do it after he did, and we had great success with it. My telemarketers, that's a methodology that they followed. You know, I'd call them up and I'd just be like, hey, Gary, it's John with EXP. I'm just giving you a quick call as a courtesy to let you know that 123 Main Street was just listed. I never say I listed it unless I, in fact, did. 123 Main Street was listed. And there's going to be a little extra activity in the neighborhood. So if you see some cars going by and stuff like that, that's what it is. And I want to quickly ask you, since that property is going to be being marketed, it might bring other buyers into the neighborhood that's interested in that neighborhood. Have you ever considered, taking a look at the market?
That's awesome. So no, I haven't. Let's play along. No, I haven't. But maybe, heck, I don't know. What are the rates going in the area? Maybe I can make some money.
Oh, well, you know, it depends on how, you know, what you owe on your house and everything else like that. And I'll tell you what, I was actually pretty shocked at what this house is listed at. How long have you owned your house?
5 years.
Oh, no kidding. So you bought it right as the market started to go up, right?
Yep.
So you're probably in a good position to take advantage of all that equity. What we should do is probably get together, just take a look at it on the computer, see how much equity is in there, and then you can make an educated decision if it makes sense or not.
Okay. Well, that sounds cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's go over some other circles. So what about you did just listeds? What about just solds?
Hey, Gary, just wanted to let you know that your neighbor at 123 Main Street, we just finally closed on their house. And, man, I'll tell you what, there's still a lot of people, a lot of activity, you know, and buzz in the neighborhood. Have you ever considered, you know, taking advantage of that?
Kind of, maybe.
Oh, all right. So let me ask you a question. How long have you been in your house?
7 years.
Okay. So, yeah, you're in a good position then, I would think, to capitalize upon all that growth and equity that we've had over the past 7 years. Tell you what we should probably do is get together and take a look at it and, you know, run the numbers. And then, you know, if it makes sense, it makes sense. But now you can at least make an educated decision.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. See, I don't sell on the phone, right? I've always been most successful with suggestive selling. And that's the method that works for me. Is I treat people as they're educated, right? As it's their decision that they're going to be able to make an educated decision, right? Just going to lay all the stuff out. If it makes sense, it makes sense.
I see. So, circle prospecting for just sold, just solds, just solds, and just listeds. Those. What are the frequency of those types of things? Do you do those as much as you can, or how often do you train or tell your guys to do that?
Yeah, expireds first, and then FSBOs, because what you'll realize is, once, if you start today, I want to compare today and somebody that started a year ago. If you start today, there's a whole bunch of data to mine through. But once you're done mining through that data, it's little bits, right? Little bits. So it only takes a half hour to an hour to get caught up. Once you clean up the list and start to hone in on what you want, some lists with somebody else, some disappear, whatever, right? And then somebody that started a year ago has already gone through that cleanup process, so they're going to be able to just come in for a half hour to an hour and just be able to bang out anything new today, follow up with the ones that they're interested in. So and same thing with FSBOs, right? It's not like there's 80 new FSBOs that hit the market today. There's going to be maybe 2 or 3 or 4. So once you already work through that initial bunch of 30 or 40 or 50, now it's maintenance mode, right? But you got to get through that boot camp kind of process first, and really hit it hard. So basically, hit your FSBOs, hit your expireds first always, then your FSBOs, and then circle dialing. Everybody needs to have a call strategy, and this is what I tell all my agents when they're not busy. You only have time. What else are you doing, right? You only have time. So if you don't have 5 appointments today, you should be on the phone or networking, right? We're not here to talk about network. That's part of a strategy too. But you should be dedicating 3-4 hours to that telephone.
Yeah. Circle prospecting, it lets you build so much rapport. It lets you talk to people around that neighborhood. What is that statistic? So many percent when want to move closer to a family member or friend. What's that Zillow stat? It's like a crazy number, like 42% want to move. When they want to move closer to a friend or family member. So that's a great opportunity for somebody who has listed a house and calling in that neighborhood saying, hey, listen, I got, there's a house for sale right down the road from you. I mean, do you know any friends or family might want to move closer? And so that's
what I say when the answer is no, we haven't thought about the market. Oh, okay. Or no, we're staying here until the kids graduate. Okay, what grade are they in? 6th grade. Okay, so I guess I'll call you in 6 more years and check in with you. But by the way, do you know any friends or family members other than your mother-in-law that might want to be living in the same neighborhood?
Yeah, other than your mother-in-law.
Hopefully she's alive, so it's a gamble. But I don't suggest you say that, But
have you said that?
I have said that. Yeah, it all depends on your rapport with the person on the phone. You got to be able to read people, right? But yeah, I mean, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell in the neighborhood? And he might say, yeah, I don't. Let me ask my wife or whatever. Okay, great. Here's my number.
Yeah, cool.
And depending on your rapport with the person, you can then, quickly take that information, write it down. The goal is always to send 5 personal handwritten notes a day, right? So send them a note to say, hey, man, it was a pleasure talking with you. Here's my business card if you happen to know anybody looking to buy or sell in the area. Right?
Yeah, so that's great. You circle prospect, then you send them information based on that call. So it, you're just staying in contact with them and getting your name out there in front of those people. That's awesome. Yeah. So here's my thing that I always end these interviews with, Johnny, is I always ask, what is the one thing that if you wish you would have known when you started out, that you would have said, aha, the one thing that you could tell new agents starting out that you've learned through the years, the one thing, and I know this might be more, but what is that one thing that you wish you would have known starting out in the industry?
Keep your data organized. Nothing more. We have so many different systems. We have so many different online this, online that our data is everywhere. So create a central house for your data and keep it organized. And when you're in the calling system, right, when you're in Salesdialers, there's a way to keep it organized. Keep it organized. Dedicate time to keeping that data organized, and then be consistent with the calls, be consistent with the follow-up, right? Because keeping that data organized keeps you well-oiled and moving along. The worst thing in the world is saying, hey, where's that guy that I talked to that wanted to sell?
Right. Right.
Take notes, tag things, create a system of organization of your data.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that data, that information is your lifeblood.
That's great advice. That's awesome stuff. So Johnny, tell us how people can reach out to you. Tell us how, if they want to do coaching, if they want more information on more GCI, tell us quickly how they can reach out to you.
Moregci.com.
Okay. And what about your email in case they want to talk about training for your from you?
John M, as in monkey, at moregci.com.
Cool. All right, Johnny. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I know these are realtors that are struggling and are really going to get a lot of benefit from this info. Thank you so much for being on today.
You got it, man. Thank you, and good luck, everybody.